Hi. Well, it's another beautiful day, and today I want to talk about importance. So, what's important? You could say, what's the most important thing? And we can choose between different things. For instance, are you more important than your thoughts? Or are your thoughts more important than you? Plenty of people have been willing to throw away their lives on thoughts, patriotic thoughts. Okay? But the question is you have to ask yourself is, am I more important than my thoughts? Okay? Because if you look at yourself, other people might say, hey, I think therefore I am. Therefore my thoughts have to be more important. But if you look at yourself, okay, and you look at what's really important about you, which is your awareness, your consciousness. That's what's really important. Everything else isn't important. Okay? And if you look at that consciousness, okay, which you really can't do, but if you do, you'll come up against the question, what's more important? You, my thoughts. Now, that's a question everyone has to answer for themselves. But if you think your thoughts are more important than you, which means you think your thoughts are more important than your consciousness, okay, then you're laboring under an illusion because your thoughts are not more important than you. You are the most important thing of all. And I'm not talking necessarily about you, the person. I'm talking about your consciousness. That's the part of you that's most important. Now, a lot of times things happen and we suffer. And why are we suffering? Well, we're suffering because our thoughts have taken the place of importance in our life. You can't suffer without thoughts. Thoughts are the keystone of suffering. Yes, you can have pain, okay? But you can't suffer in the sense of human suffering without thoughts. So, if you think those thoughts are more important than you are, then you think a really messed up thing. Because thoughts are only forms, okay? And these forms come into your head and then they go out again, generally speaking. Unless you fasten upon a thought and make it a part of you. And really, when you're trying to awaken, the most important thing to let go is your thoughts. Okay? Because that's what really gives you the suffering. Okay? You can have something bad happen to you. That's bad. I don't want anything like that to happen to anyone. Okay? But if you don't think about it, if you don't criticize yourself about it, then you're not suffering. And the only way you can criticize yourself is to think it. Okay? If you can't think, you can't criticize. You can't kick yourself for doing something you think it was stupid or whatever. So, human thinking is a wonderful tool unless it makes you one. Okay? And, every day you have to decide what you're going to be, which is either you're going to be a thought surrounded by a human being, or you're going to be a human being with thoughts. Okay? Now, you could say, well, how could I make my thoughts more important than myself? Well, everybody does. Okay? Which is why it's so hard to let go of them. if you think you're a Republican and you think that the Republicans are the right people to be in the job, then that's a thought. And if you'd say to yourself, "I'm a Republican till I'm dead," then you're basically putting that thought above your own life, right? I mean, so whatever you're thinking really determines what your state is going to be. Okay? And if you're thinking about all the ways that you have screwed up in life, then that's going to be your state. Okay? If you aren't thinking anything, then your state can be way better because you'll be in touch with God. That's the other thing thinking does. It keeps us away from God. God is there. He's waiting for us. He's waiting for you, okay, to see him, to perceive him. And you can perceive him if you stop thinking. Now, your thoughts, your ideas about what life is and everything else, okay, are only based on your experience. Okay? And many times could have been proven wrong. Okay? But if you hold on to these thoughts like they're the Bible, okay, then you're going to suffer. Because the world isn't always going to agree with you. That's just the way the world is. Everything is constantly changing. Okay? And this change is part of you because you are just a moment, really, in this time scheme. You're a moment of consciousness, which is constantly changing. You are the change. And if you try to not change, then you're two forces trying to do something which isn't going to get done, okay? Because change is what you are. Think about it. When you are born, you have smooth skin, and so on and so forth, okay? And as you get older and older, you start to, see the wrinkles and the other things about yourself that you don't like. And then eventually you get really wrinkly, and then you die. That's a constant rate of change. But we fool ourselves into thinking that we are not the change, that the change is something that's happening to us, which it isn't. And the world is constantly changing too, just like the universe too. So, these thoughts in your head are changing too. But they change at a really slow rate, okay? Maybe it takes you 6 years to realize that you don't agree with Trump. Okay? Or maybe it takes you, 60 years to realize that, your professors in college were wrong about you. Okay? It doesn't really matter what it is or how long it takes you to realize it. Okay? These thoughts hold on to you because you're the thought's passage into the world. Okay? And if you let the thought go, then it doesn't get into the world. I know it sounds crazy, doesn't it? It is. But that's what you are. You are the thought's path into the world. If you have a thought and write down on a sign what your thought is, then you're putting that thought out there into the world. And the same thing with commenting on, social media. You're putting that thought into the world. That's what you're doing. And that's what the thought wants, okay? Because it wants to spread. And just like suffering, thoughts can spread too. Okay? That's how we have, really terrible people doing terrible things because of thoughts. Now, it's easy to think that the world is the way it is because this is the way it is. Okay? And you can't change the world because you can't change yourself, right? Well, you can change yourself, and that is really what this video is about, changing yourself, okay? And letting go of these thoughts. These thoughts are not more important than you. You are the one that's important. These thoughts are just moments that drift past eternity. That's all they are. And if you put more importance on these thoughts than they deserve, then you're going to suffer. And I mean, it doesn't matter who you are or what you believe in, okay? If you believe that God is an old, white-haired old man in the heavens, okay, dealing out justice as he sees fit, okay, or whatever you believe, okay, then you're gonna, feel the suffering happen, okay? Because having these thoughts become part of who you are is the real problem. I mean, I don't want anyone to have any problems, but the fact of the matter is these thoughts are very, very much want to be part of who you are, okay? I mean, if you have a thought and somebody else says your thought is crap, you're going to get mad, okay? And you could conceivably kill or be killed because of a thought. And your life is precious. It's too precious to let a thought destroy it. Okay? And that includes patriotism and the thousands and millions of people who died at war and are still dying right now. Look, try to remember you are a soul. You're not a self. The self is a construct that was made for you by everyone you know. You're a soul. And what that means is that you have something within you that God made. Okay? That's what it means. You are a child of God, you might say. Okay? But not the God that sits in a church and collects pennies from the poor. You are part of the source of all life and intelligence in the world, in the universe. And if you let thoughts turn you into something that you're not, you're putting yourself in a box. Okay? Which is a not very comfortable place to be. And plenty of people have been there for years, for their whole lives. Okay? And they don't know what freedom is because they can't experience it because they're inside of a box. So we, on the spiritual path, need to accept what is. And accept that our thoughts are not more important than we are. We are what matter. Consciousness. Consciousness is really the only thing that matters. Okay? Because it's the only thing we can't touch. We can't do anything with it. We don't even know what it is. Okay? But regardless, it's what's important about you. Anyway. So, try to accept that you are more important than your thoughts. And start to let some of your thoughts go. Just let them go. I know plenty of people have said to me, how can I stop thinking about this? It's always on my mind. Okay? You can stop thinking about it because it's not you. You are a soul. You are consciousness. You are not a person. You are not something that bad things happen to. You are a shining star up on a hill. And if you think you're a person, then you're just limiting yourself because you can't be a shining star and a person. You have to be one or the other. Anyway, I guess that's it for this particular talk. I love you all because you're me, and I'm you, and we're all one thing. There's no difference between you and me. There's no difference between me and anyone else on this planet, or even between these trees and grass. Because inside of these trees, and inside of this grass, and inside of that worm is the spark. The spark that makes us live, and that spark comes from one place: God. Okay, well,